So, Weapons is the second film from writer-director Zach Cregger. His previous film, Barbarian, I just really enjoyed. Just an absolute bonkers film that was unlike anything I'd seen before. So yeah, he just really made himself this new, strong presence in the horror genre, and Weapons ended up becoming one of my most anticipated films of the year, and it absolutely delivered. I thoroughly enjoyed it. This film follows a small group of characters who live in a small town where every kid from the same class mysteriously vanished on the same night at the same time and never came back. It's kind of difficult for me to talk about this film because there's so much to unpack here. I do want to start with the more technical filmmaking side of it. This one reminded me a lot of the filmmaking styles of Paul Thomas Anderson, you know, the guy who did Boogie Nights, Magnolia, There Will Be Blood. And it also reminded me a lot of the style of Stanley Kubrick, with some very clear inspiration taken from The Shining. There's also a few bits that feel very inspired by the goofiness of Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2. Now, any film that reminds me of, you know, any of these filmmakers' styles is just, that's a good sign. That's a sign that this is an expertly crafted film. There's long tracking shots here that really draw out the tension. Again, this reminds me of the multiple tracking shots in Boogie Nights, or the famous one from The Shining. There's also another shot pointed out by Red Letter Media that's a direct reference to a shot from Boogie Nights when Mark Wahlberg is running out of a house. Now that I'm thinking about it, while I didn't say Spielberg, I remember there being a dolly zoom that does feel reminiscent of that moment in Jaws, the famous moment from Jaws. And, you know, it's clearly referencing that in the moment that it's used here. I'm trying not to spoil it, but it is very effective. And of course, like Magnolia, this film is like, it's about an ensemble cast. There's not really one specific main character. They're all the main character, really. There's also character designs that feel very familiar. I know people have pointed out John C. Reilly as the cop with the mustache, looking very similar to Alden Ehrenreich in this film with his mustache. That's got to be intentional, right? Like I know a lot of cops have that mustache, but you know, you have a similar structure, similar character designs. Come on, there's some influence there. But all of this it's never done in a way that feels like a ripoff of these filmmakers. It's not Joker, right? It's not, we're ripping off these filmmakers to, you know, and we're not going to have anything to say or anything new to add. It feels like inspiration here. You know, Cregger clearly knows why these shots or these character designs work, and he adds his own little weird twist that serves this film and makes them feel unique. But while it does feel inspired by those other filmmakers, there are still a lot of really striking visuals here that feel new. The running, which is featured prominently in the trailers, and also just the way some of the characters walk in this is so unnerving and creepy. It could very easily be silly, but it's just odd enough to weird you out. Now, if this wasn't already obvious to you, this is a horror film, but it is also a character drama and a mystery. The way in which the mystery aspect of the film is resolved may upset some people. I know people are calling this year's Longlegs, which I know Longlegs is pretty divisive in regards to how people responded to the reveal that happens in Longlegs. And while I do think that the setup here is way more interesting than the eventual reveal, where the film goes after the reveal is something that I can't even begin to talk about. But if you know Zach Cregger's background, you can probably guess the tone of the finale. The film does a really great job at really connecting you with its characters. Zach Cregger has stated in multiple interviews that a central theme of this film is grief. He's talked about how the characters represent how he grieved with a very personal loss. One character turns to drinking, another becomes obsessed with finding out what happened, another tries to act like everything is normal and continues on with their lives. Almost every character feels personal to Cregger, and they all feel fully fleshed out and real. Even that one character, to a certain extent, feels fleshed out and real. Give her second Academy Award nomination, please. I won't say anything about who I'm talking about, but if you've seen the film, you know exactly who I'm talking about. And if you haven't seen the film, watch the movie and you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. Also, just don't look up the cast list on Wikipedia or do anything like that. It's full of wild spoilers. They just give away all of this shit for some reason. I don't know why. So yeah, if you're planning on seeing this, just stay off the Wikipedia page, which you should be doing anyway for any film you watch. But going back to the characters, I went on that was a weird tangent to go on. Back to the characters, they all do feel grounded and real, but they never feel miserable. Sure, they're all dealing with loss or grief or something along those lines, but they still have a personality besides that, and you like watching each and every one of them. In many ways, it's a fun film. It's not a miserable film. In fact, I would argue it's partially a comedy, largely due to the mannerisms of some of these characters, which again makes them feel more real and likable. There's a homeless man played by Austin Abrams, who I guess was in Euphoria. I've never seen that show, but he was great in this. Almost every line from this guy had my theater dying because he's like constantly tweaking. It's one of the best and most accurate depictions of a homeless man I've ever seen. Reminds me of some people I saw when I was in college. And thankfully you like all of the characters in this film, because the structure of this film, it's bouncing between different points of view. And sometimes scenes will overlap and we'll see events play out multiple times, but from another person's perspective. So we keep seeing things play out from different characters' points of view, and we see how people's personality changes depending on whose POV we're in, or maybe there'll be a line there that wasn't there before but is in this person's POV. It makes it feel like we're following a group of unreliable narrators, and it works for this film as a mystery because it's making you question what is real in this story. This is a film that deals with a lot of themes besides grief, but it doesn't really have anything to say about anything necessarily. Like a part of this film is about police brutality, but the film doesn't really have anything to say about power dynamics or anything like that. It is just an element of this film to try and ground it and make it seem more like our real world. Again, grounding the film in some form of reality so that when it needs to go a bit wild and crazy, it feels wild and crazy. Yeah, this is just a thoroughly enjoyable film. I really, really liked it. If you want a fun horror comedy with some wacky filmmaking and great performances, this is a good one to check out. So yeah, I really enjoyed Weapons. Have you guys seen it? Let me know down in the comments below. I would really like to know your guys' thoughts on this one. And yeah, try not to spoil it in the comments, or if you do spoil, put a spoiler warning if you're going to talk about spoilers. But yeah, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Long live cinema.